I welcome you all for the study circle meeting on the topic Journal Information Technology Controls, and to develop upon the subject we have with us CA Jagadeesha M G. Now may I call upon Chairman Sir Manjunath Hallur, Bangalore branch, to escort the speaker to the dais and welcome him with a flower bouquet. Thank you, Chairman Sir. CA Jagadeesha M G is a chartered accountant having 18 plus years of experience in SOX, IFC, International Control, IT Journal Control, ISAE, SSAE. He manages large multinational and domestic clients as a part of advisory and audit support engagement like SOX, PCAOB, IFC, pre-IPO engagement. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Jagadeesha M G. Over to you, sir.
Thanks, Vinod, for the quick introduction. And I would like to thank Bangalore branch chairman and Manjunath and Tupar and Vinod for giving me opportunity to present over here. Today I just want to cover more like general IT controls. Normally, most of the, considering the current scenario, most of the industries are now moving to a lot of application-oriented books of accounts. Considering the same, I just want to cover more briefly around today, like GATC background, why GATC is critical for any of the organization. That's the first way of doing, and then followed by factor considering GATC. Normally, any of the organization will have like multiple applications as a as a part of the organization, like application tools. And then we need to ensure that I don't need to consider all the books, all the application in the organization as a books of accounts. So when it's critical for us to scope in, which is critical for us to understand, which is critical financial applications. Okay, that's the second factor I would like to cover. And then IT environment. In the GATC application, when we say there is a GATC, and then what are the environments we normally look as part of the audit. That's the third aspect. And then followed by what are the risk and controls normally we look into the as part of the GATC framework. Okay, that's what I just want to cover, part of that IT risk and control. And then followed by there is like a IT dependent also, there is a couple of areas we look into that. That's the other aspects. And then backup and audit trial, and followed by service auditor report. Normally, current scenario, we do have a normal, like most of the companies use the third party services. Okay, in that, how do I relay and as a user entity service organization report, how do I relay and then do my audit? These are the broad areas I would like to cover so far in the current. So today's session, we will try out wherever there is a possibilities. And then maybe it's a discussion, we want to just have an interactive sessions kind of thing. Please let me know if any questions or any understanding required. I'm happy to stop in the discussion then explain. Okay? That's the overall discussion for the today's topic. Coming back to GATC background. So normally, why do anybody would like to just try answering that, what exactly GATC in any scenario? Or which scenario is applicable? Maybe you can read and also try and mind. Anybody wants to try? So in typical industry, in organization, what is the normal infrastructure in the organization? Normally we are seeing, correct? Earlier we used to do like books manually, and then even transaction used to happen manually. In today's scenario, any organization we see, we do hire a lot of things like SAP, Oracle, even Tally nowadays majority is using. Considering that most of my business transaction happens in technology. Okay, so then when my financial critical data is in technology, how do I get a comfort and assurance that whatever data what it processes in any of the technology, how is that set accurate and complete? To do that, so what we do is that we do two types of testing. One is that the infrastructure. Suppose if I take an example of SAP or like Oracle or Tally, how do I ensure that that the application is secure, which is not inappropriately misused, and then that it will impact whatever data we process, that will impact in my financial transaction. So to do that, what we do is that we do GATC around the application, that is like access management, change management, and then data network and all those things. That's the one leg of GATC testing. And second part is that configuration setting of the applications or like database operating system. These are the terminologies what we normally in any of the current scenario in the industry we do use. To do that, the general IT control is really critical. Either we have to do direct testing or like there is a substantive testing. That's how normally the financial audit will happen. Okay. Any questions so far in this slide? Maybe if anything I am happy to address. Or is it not clear then what is that impact, like what is that impact if GITC failure? Anybody would like to know? Anybody would like to answer this? Typically how we do audit, one is that substantive testing, that's one leg of the testing, and then I do control reliance approach. There is an integrated audit happens, any of the organization as an audit. So if I need to do an integrated audit, if GITC fails, then I need to end more of a substantive reliance, substantive testing I'll end up, that is the one thing. Or like if there is a access, inappropriate access or like misuse of configuration that lead to financial misappropriation, that will lead to non-reliance of general IT controls. In that case, I end up doing a lot of manual controls reliance and manual testing. That will lead to two things. One is that what we have to do is that if really there is a significant deficiency we noted in GITC, that will impact. We need to end up that financial auditor and you end up reporting that there is a significant deficiency. That will impact, and then we have to report to audit committee and then audit board. That's the one impact. And then auditor, as an auditor, if my IT reliance is not taken because of the failure or inefficiencies, then I'll end up doing a substantive testing. I need to rely on manual documentation. That will really lead to a lot of delay in my audit completion and then also lead to delay in my additional exercise. These are the impact what we normally see. Okay. So far this is I just want to give a big background about GITC at this point. Just moving to the next one is factors considering scoping. Anybody, this is I think very easy point to I think explanation there. Maybe if anybody wants to try this, how do we scoping in any of the GITC applications? Even people studying C also can explain. Try anybody? No? Yes. Okay. Maybe I'll just try to explain over here. I don't know whether cursor, you guys can see cursor coming over there? No. Okay, maybe I'll come over there. So, any of the organization, what are the HR, purchase to pay, order to cash, in any scenario. If I am running a business, I am doing this, these are the functions what we have in any of the organization. Clear? So, similar to that, my first will identify which are the critical processes in my any of the organization. I am going as an auditor. As an auditor, I need to scope in first to arrive this is my audit scope. To arrive this, I need to scope in which are the processes in any of the organization. That is the second aspect. Now coming to that, so these processes process in which environment? Normally in any of the organization where this purchase to pay happens, either Tally, either some SAP or Oracle. Clear? This is what the fundamental application comes as for me first to scope in as an application. Either I scope in SAP, Oracle or like related anything reporting structure. This is what the first basic scoping what we do. Coming back to next is that where this SAP runs in any of the landscape. Like if I open a laptop, can I directly access the SAP? I need operating system, correct? So that operating system is another critical aspect for me to scope in as a general IT controls. One is that underlying operating system and then database. So anybody know that this if I enter a transaction in SAP, Oracle, anywhere, is it where this goes and sits? The data.
Yeah, cloud.
Sorry sir?
Cloud-based rates. Cloud-based.
Cloud-based, is that cloud-based is that is another one. Where exactly application is that in my mobile app, okay, I just use a front-end application, correct? That will not save the data, it will help me to record the transactions. If I need to save, there is a database call. The database is linked to this application. Normally the database is that SAP will have a ANA database, that's what they call, and then Oracle database like that, there is a database. These all front-end application what we see that will allow me to process the data. Then it goes and sits in database. So these are the basic ITGC application scoping normally what we do. One is the critical SAP and then operating system and database. This is my IT framework for me to scoping for general IT controls. This is the second step. Then coming to what are the areas we look, the domain in all these applications. Okay, please ask me if any wordings is like looks like something like not clear. I am happy
So
to give you.
domain I didn't get.
That's why I will come. Okay, the domain is that access management. One of the access to access these applications.
Okay. This
Suppose domain is that what I say. Assuming that this is an application, to access this, I need to have access rights. Somebody has to give an access to this. That is what one of the domain. And then if there is an application, if I need to do any changes, something I need to know. There is two-way matches set up. Like I know I just need to match PO and GRN. Then there is the third matching we have to do payment also, payment match. Then I need to change that logic, correct? That's where I need a change management for that. That's the second domain. And then there is a one more we say there is a data network and operation. These are the perfect criteria domain what we look at the general IT controls.
previously access this Oracle and all.
Correct, yeah. Oracle is as an application. So to test that there is a domain we define. Like access management, change management, data center, network controls. These are the domains what we check.
Is there any specific list for this domain?
Sorry sir?
Is there any list of this?
These are the standards. You can get Google also you get that. These are standard domains what we in general IT controls. In even any books also you get that. So okay, this is the third aspects what we look. Okay. Then coming to how do I know these are, so in any organization maybe I have 50 applications, 50 tools and technologies, okay? How do I identify which is relevant for me as an audit? Anybody?
Isn't the criteria for that?
Correct. That's when we
Not
say
India, something else.
financially relevant. If I have a data which is financially relevant, that is pursuing, that is what for me critical application. Okay, that is the one aspect. Second is that okay, even what we do is that I may use the application just to process the data, but I might not use any automated configuration over there. Automated configuration example is three-way match. So I set up a configuration over there, automatically it match. That configuration is there, that is for me critical other aspects to check whether GATC is needed or not. That is the second aspect. Then there is the reports. Anybody know like AR report, AG, payables report, AR reports?
They are the common reports.
Common reports, correct? So how do I get to know so that report is complete and accurate?
Based on programming.
So how do I know that program is complete and accurate? That's why we have to, so you are absolutely correct. So the report what I get, I need to check whether the report is complete and accurate. That's why a couple of dependent controls what we identify. If there is a report is generated from particular application, that is for me critical for me general IT controls. That is the third aspect. Then coming to where, okay, then so there is another aspect to that I am doing GITC in like, suppose if any organization is fully dependent on my entirely system process, like suppose employee, it's like travel agencies, it's everything online, okay, everything happens through system. Is that substantive testing works over there? Substantive audit, I do manual audit substantively, because I have 80% is my process automated and then only 20% is manual. In that case, is that so only substantive testing I can do complete my audit? No. Correct. So that time substantive testing is not allowed exception, then I have to rely on GITC. So these are the basics. Scoping has to be clear in any of my audit. Unless I am clear here, otherwise very difficult for me to end up like organization may come back that I am doing each and every activity some multiple 10-20 applications, but if I scope in those applications that may not be financially relevant, that might not help. That's why scoping is one of the fundamental in my general IT controls. Any questions so far in this?
Usually I can mention all the
Correct. That's we have to scope in application GITC.
Because GITC may play a major role in terms of
Any
SAP, ERP or Tally, these things.
Correct.
But at least things like Zoho books where completely it is on the database centers actually.
Cloud based you are saying?
Cloud or even something like Control S Hyderabad or Chennai where the control data centers are located or the servers are located.
Correct.
It need not be just like Azure or
Correct.
these things.
So in that case, two options. One is that if as a Zoho data center, I am providing 10 people. Two options for me. When you enter into a contract with me, two options. One is that normally, if the person is serving 10 people, then what you will enter with me a contract is that during the end of the day, you need to provide me, you appoint an independent auditor, you do a audit, you give me a SOC 1 type to report.
SOC 2.
SOC 1 SOC 1 type 2. That is because operating effectiveness also you need. Okay. So that becomes SOC 1 type. I will cover that part later. That's fine. Okay. So that way you rely on that. Okay. If at all, because normally I don't want to entertain 10 auditors coming to me. Correct. That's why normally that is even cloud provider also give the SOC report. That way we rely on that. Even Azure and all, everyone we rely on the SOC report for that. Okay. Any more question around this? I'm happy to. Coming back to this, I think this is what I just tried to cover the same topic again in detail. I think this is what the explanation that I thought of giving that in detail. Okay, maybe unless if you want to read anything and then explanation, I'm happy to give. Otherwise, maybe I'll skip this for the time being. This is the same thing I said that the same detail what I tried to explain. Coming back to IT environment. Okay, so this is the same in line that I'm just trying to give that in the environment what we say is that what are the things comes normally. Like one is that application system where that designed to store and return data locally meaningful manner and create rules data. Example is same SAP, Oracle, Tally, everything that is what we call as the application system. Any of this in the IT environment. Second coming data warehouse. Okay, there we say that repository for more different sources. Like if I need to do reporting, I need to do consolidation. They will use data warehouse to, like the Amazon is the one, Microsoft, these are the words, maybe these are the ones in the market at this point. Next coming to report writers. Suppose I need to get a customized report. Suppose I just need to combine some calculations. So what I do, I just write a report writer. I get a combination of multiple 2-3. That's where we do a customized report where we say report writer. That's where we say that this Power BI. Normally we get, if I need to do consolidation, if I need to get multiple units, I just do a customized, apart from what standardized report, then that way I get over there. Database, I think I explained, operating network, these are the ones in like typical, what the infrastructure, okay. Unless any question, because already I just explained, so maybe I'll skip this part also.
So the report writer,
Yeah.
we basically use any outside software, you need to tell from SAP or Oracle, we get a standard result. Tally also we get a standard.
Correct. What happens that there are any SAP or Oracle will have a standard inbuilt application, correct? Inbuilt T codes. That's we normally as a testing what we do, we test whether anybody else changed that standard. Normally it's standard, I don't think so. Unless the SAP is anything done, otherwise normally what we see when was the last change is done, that typically comes when SAP was implemented, that way we rely. What happens that somehow I am not, whatever I get in a standard table, I might not giving what I need. I may need extra fields and extra details. What I do in SAP, we can write a Z, normally we call it as a Z T codes. Okay, that's what we write a customized codes, customized report what we extract. So in that customized report, what happens that that is not the standard word function to define. Somebody else might have a change. I may use the wrong coding also, correct? So whatever data output comes, we test around the customized report. That's where the writer comes up in this case.
So it's a different software.
No, it's within SAP only they can customize the. Yeah, I might need a multiple T codes combination reports for some purpose. I write a query in SAP. That IT team, that's typical IT team, that coding, not like we are auditor, we are not going to do. So we do our testing around that, whether that logic is approved and all, whether logic is changed sometime, then is that way, and then we match the input and output data. So normally what happens that even standard T code or even customized T code, it will extract the data from source system. When I enter the data, it goes and sits in source data. So if someone has to fetch that, I need to extract by multiple T codes and all. When it extract output comes, what I will do is that the data coming in output, is it matching with the source data? If it is matching, then it's a queries, whatever it is asking, that's how it is. You can write it in that. Okay, the other question what you said is outside Power BI, some places they have integrated to this fetch the data. That is also possible.
But even application software itself provide all those various reports.
Yeah.
So why there is a need to check the output report versus the prime source of the data?
So what happens?
Say any configuration changes or any.
No. What happens that when this is my application, and then this is whenever I write the data, it goes it's here. Okay. When I do fetch from this here, standard is automatically standard. That's defined in that. Okay. What I do if I need to fetch from here, I'll create a logic. I'll say table A, table B, table C. Okay, then I'll ask them to fetch the data in the table A field A, table B field C, table C sample. Okay, this is the logic I have been customized, correct? Then that might be correct. We are not denying under any organization whatever written customer data. I am not debating that. Okay, but as an auditor, if between the so I have written 1 year back, how do I get a comfort that that same logic holds good for current year? So what I do two testings. One is that I will get the output. I will check whether the total count, what it shows me in that, and then is it matching with the total data, what is in source data, and then fields, which are critical fields, what the sample basis. And then even and beyond that, if you think that you can check the logic also. That's where we get the comfort that during the implementation to current time period, nothing has changed unauthorized. That's the intention. And then normally in most of the audit, as a control lens, we do design and then operating system.
What's the difference between data warehouse and database actually?
Which one? Data warehouse is that where we say deposit data from more different sources. We just keep the data into collect and then keep it in there. Database is that this is like suppose if I enter SAP any transaction, suppose I am posted invoice, it goes and this doesn't have a capacity of storing the data. It goes and then this is the database linked to the SAP S4. So it's whatever data is just like a user for me, just like a entering that like a monitoring kind of thing. GUI.SAP, that data is sits in this one. That's where the difference is. This what happens, this data warehouse is that I may collect some data from here, I may collect some data from here and then store it. That's where the difference between these.
So, one question. So now in SAP or Oracle, how can you come to know whether the data has been tampered or it has been changed from the source data? Somebody has a management rights, they can tamper the order value or they can tamper the PO value. Maybe is it whether the SAP throws it as an exception or something?
Okay, so there are two ways. One is that IT. So whatever we do is that IT, general IT control and SAP we check. One is that access. If the right people access that's the one set of that. Okay. Then if somebody is normally the segregation comes, IT team only have a super user access. That's the accountability over there. Okay, that's the one thing. Okay. And the second thing, if somebody business is have only business processing, they don't have access to do anything. This is the two differentiate we test as a GATC control. But exactly if you with example, if you ask me, then I can explain like anything you.
Like in aging analysis.
Aging analysis, okay.
We can tamper the data and show that it is less than 90 days or more than 90 days.
Correct. That's where this report testing, aging report, what we test. Actually, so there are two ways of testing. Normally, I don't do 100% testing. Okay, I take the sample. That what you rightly said that I will extract the report. First, I check whether my source data count I check. So 100 line items in my source data, what I expect 100 line items should come here. Then we check the fields, critical fields. One is the value, and then whatever the 4-5 PO number, like aging number, receivable document number, the aging 90 days, 20 days, whatever. Okay. So if I take the sample, one sample, if that aging fits 80 days, 90 days same, and then same is my source data, that's why we take a control reliance. Okay. Fundamental control reliance is sample based. Okay, I cannot commit that whenever you give opinion based on control reliance, sample based we give opinion. I am not going to give 100%. If really organization thinks that there is a possibility of in this sample, the possibility is that I may got the two samples. If I get to know there is a variation, then what steps we will do in that case? Anybody maybe wants to try?
We explore more data.
Yeah, but to what extent? More data, how will you test then? How do I get a comfort?
Change the sampling method and again.
Yeah, but even again change the sampling method, you don't give me 100% reliance, correct? Two things. One is that end of the day I am an auditor. I am not my responsibility to ensure that 100% is there. Management has to demonstrate to us. I have re-verified whatever that I did 100% testing, okay, and then I didn't see anything more than what you identified, and then they have to get. Then on top of that, we validate that. I am not going to do again. That's where we get a comfort over here. If that scenario comes, management has to do 100% and ensure that first one is that they have to do, and then impact analysis they have to tell what is the impact they are doing. Then that's how we have to do additional procedures around that. It's clear? Anything so far? Is it's fine. Okay. Any particle I'm happy to, sir. I can explain. Yes, sir. This one you can change. Okay, which one left? Right. Okay. Okay. Okay, what can go wrong? If that IT environment, what the possibilities? Same example, why you guys are same thing, like program inaccurate processing. So if I think reliance on system of programs that are inaccurately processing data, this is what same thing. If something GATC unauthorized access all those things, it start behaving like the data what I process, maybe they're not correct. That's the one aspect. Second is that distribute improper change of data, including recording unauthorized non-exit transaction, inaccurate. Same thing, like if I have unauthorized access, somebody is like the person who is not authorized and got that access, then I start doing unauthorized transactions. That's where it will impact my entire data what I am relying on application. Okay. Then the positive I gain privilege access. So this privilege access, anybody privilege access, anything what exactly privilege access?
CEO has more access than
The director may have.
CFO.
Even I as a common man can also have a privilege access in the Any as an IT person or like business person, if I have a privilege, I don't want designation. Simple privilege access is what it can do, what it can allow me to do.
Override the normal controls.
Yeah, privilege access is like super user access. I can create, I can develop anything in that application. So this is like I am like a super user, simple English. Super user means I can do anything in that application. If the guy is having super user access, then he can change entire application. He can write your loan, he can do a payment also. That's how it works. Management CFO is a difficult because normally CFO we check he doesn't have a super user access. First of all, he should not have. Only IT team should have a super user access. Even business guy should not have. Normally we see one of the people like small companies, they say I am the only IT guy, or like I am the doing finance and IT I am having. Normally the standard is best standard is that finance should not have a IT access. That's how segregation has to be there. Okay. So that's what we are saying, that if somebody is having a possibility of gaining privilege access via perform assigned duties, it's break down the segregation duties and that's the changes to data master. Okay, something that's what is impacts us if I don't have GATC. Okay. Then that failure to make necessary changes system program and inappropriate manual intervention, potential loss data in impact. He may delete. If super user having, he can delete the transaction also. That's how the impact, it is impact. This is what is the impact if IT environment goes. Okay. Now coming to typical risk and controls. Which one we normally first identify? Anybody in the controls environment?
Usually I heard that with SAP you cannot delete.
Correct, yeah, log accounts, yeah, that's what. It's like transaction cannot be deleted.
Tally we can delete.
Tally I am not much familiar, but now latest one I think they have some list lately.
Edit log
That we have to select.
Yeah, because the recent one we have audit law compliance, that's what we
But
know.
in SAP it is by default we cannot delete.
Transaction you cannot delete, you reverse the transaction, that's what I am saying. Not that I am saying that configuration changes if I made something that at the IT level, not at the transaction level. Okay. Anything like, do you know what is the, which is the normally IT, not in IT also, in normal business process also, which is the one, which one we normally identify, risk or controls?
Controls.
Controls. Anybody have a different opinion?
Risk.
Risk. Why? Why risk? Why control?
Control we said
Let answer one by one.
man first we said who is controlling this document, this. We identify that. Then we identify whether he is proper to do that control.
Okay. Sir, you?
Basically, the basis to create architecture for the controls.
Okay. Okay. So normally, sir, first is that my fundamental is control objective. To mitigate the control objective, I'll identify the risk. To mitigate the risk, I'll identify controls. That's how the sequence goes normally. Okay. Control first, maybe COSO principles. Normally, if you follow that way, it comes. First, I need to understand. Okay. Maybe I'll just quickly run through. First is process, like purchase to pay, or whatever. Then followed by sub process, like receivables, payables. So that's why I'll just keep IT, then it's easy for it. In that receivable payables, what is my control objectives and then what is the risk in that? Then to mitigate the risk, I'll get a control for that followed by. Okay, that's how the sequence works. So now coming to general IT framework, there are 2-3 areas. Okay, it's not only general IT control. I try to cover basics around that. Okay, financial information, then internal financial reporting and external financial reporting. This is what the base fundamental for any of the audit. Correct? Now coming back to this, how is that works in a control environment? One is that general IT control. This is comes for me with the application, SAP, database and all those things. Now coming back to business processes. This is what I have a purchase to pay, record to report, all those things. Now coming to combination of application process, there is automated controls. Then it's followed by other IT dependent controls, IP, IOCs and then all those interfaces and all, okay. So normally we test this as a direct control where I get to know that whether that control is passed or not. To arrive at there is a GITC happens around the application. So this is how this is a GITC, assuming that this is an application, I check around this what is my control mechanism. Nobody is going and doing unauthorized things. Within that process I check somebody make a checker. That is what for me manual control comes here. Then automated control, as I said, there is a configuration. I may threshold PO more than 10, more than 50. That is the configuration what we normally check. This is the direct and this is the around the control. Any questions so far in this? Okay. So now this is a typical GITC. What I said: access security, system change control, data center operation. Okay. Then in this access control, what we see is that authentication system settings, user provisioning, user deprovision, user access review, and privileged access. So provisioning, anybody wants to try? This is an easy one. Provisioning, deprovisioning. Anybody? Sorry?
Giving and revoking access to the system.
Correct. If you are in a purchase to pay department, how do you get access? Somebody has to give an access, correct? Otherwise you cannot access. So that's what access given. Provisioning means, that's what we say, access provisioning. Deprovisioning means you might move out of the organization or you move to other department. Then the deprovisioning means remove the provisioning. Okay? That's what is the control board feature. Then privileged access, where we say that you should not have access to do more than one activities. Then that's what is a privileged. Then that should be checked whether he really is the right guy to do. Why is that given? That's how the normal control board feature. Now coming to access review. Anybody know what exactly review what happens? Or maybe I put in other way around. So you make the frequency understand. Okay, so user access review and then provisioning. Okay, then I have preventive detective control. Anybody? Preventive. Which is the one preventive and which is the one detective over here?
Access reviews is
Detective. Yeah. Access review is a detective and other one is preventive controls. Then based on the detective and preventive, my frequency changes. Frequency means monthly, quarterly, or like event driven. That's all. Okay. Anybody can tell me access review what frequency normally we see?
depends on the environment and
Yeah, normally environment also monthly or quarterly, because I just whatever that I do, entire review I do. That's what we normally do. Okay. Then coming to system changes testing and approvals, access to make changes in production system. Okay. Anybody, how is the normally change management process happens? How is it normally happens? If any changes, okay, suppose I'll just give an example. Somebody you asked me in the finance department that I need to change my threshold limit from 20 to 120. So you send a request to the IT department, whatever the application, I don't call IT department, application department. What they normally cycle they do, what they normally process they follow.
first it will be change request.
Okay.
And they will develop it.
Okay.
Later on they will put it in the sandbox and test it. Then they will give user access testing. Then finally it will be implemented.
Production, correct? That's how the normal process happens. Okay, so that's why we need to test whether that the change access to make changes in production is appropriately done or not. That's why we test the control. One is that the approval request is that came from proper approval, and then is that all the process what you said the flow is happened or not. Then it's moved to production. Okay, that's the one aspect, and then other aspect we test who is the person who is having authorized to do this. I should not have a testing, developing and implementing also. Now where there is a segregation of duty has to be there, because I am only doing everything and then implement, that may be impact. Okay, that's the other aspect. Then job monitoring backups. Anybody know job monitoring, what exactly job is talking about?
Batch jobs.
Bad jobs, yeah.
Number of the batches.
I'll run. Okay, so what possibility go wrong in this?
So there may be a set of commands where it has to process in certain batches.
Mm.
There are any overrides on that and
Correct. Normally, when they run the batch, because of multiple issues, maybe system issues, maybe some other issues, maybe error comes. Then I need to ensure that that is somebody is monitored and then taken appropriate action. Otherwise, like some example is best is bank payment. Correct. I might run a batch, but it was not clear. Then I will unless I monitor, then it's a incorrect flow of estimate. Okay. Then backup. I think there is a I'll try to cover backup. But there is a circular also from the MCA. Backup has to be done on a daily basis. Okay, that's maybe I have separate slide for me, then I'll cover that also. Okay. So far clear?
yes.
One is that ITGC, why do I need to do ITGC? Because of, what is the reason? Because I am moving to more of a technology. That's the first thing. Second thing is that how do I scope in IT applications? And then third is what are the controls normally we check. I think I just have more of the risk here and then I just cover that. Okay. So access, I just kept the simple 3 domains so that easy to just further explanation. So what I'll check normally, I said, okay, who has access, including privileges, that's what we say, periodic access review. What is that covers normally? Then how access provision removed, and that's what modification include, revocation and provisioning. Third is that, password. So I should have a password, complex password. What possibility can happen if I don't have a, I think this is everywhere, with even mobile also there is a, I don't know, maybe I don't need to explain more because password is our critical control. Normally we check because unless I have a complex password, then somebody else can also utilize that and misuse that. Okay. Then maybe I just try to cover inappropriate user access rights. What happens? Okay, that may lead to control the user ability to erroneous and transaction. That's what the responsibility may be. Financial data can impact. That's what he's saying. Somebody else can do unauthorized changes in the transaction level. Then intro direct database access. Anybody know what exactly direct database access? Database clear so far?
Yes.
Application, there is a database. Normally most of the users have access to application. And then that application goes and sits in my database. If I need to fetch tomorrow financials, it comes from database. Okay. So what happens if somebody has a direct database access?
Whole data will get manipulated.
He may manipulate here. So far I am saying all the front end people say, boss, I am done. I have done proper transaction, but it should be correct. But somebody guy in IT or somebody else have an IT guy direct database, you can change in the database. But that's where it's a risk for. That's why you should not have a direct. That's we normally check as part of the. So what is saying that enough to access to database financial application isn't enough to change to data, bypassing application control and affecting the reliability of financial. What I will do normally if I don't check this, I will say that my access is correct, I saw provisioning, deprovisioning, everything, I am fine. But end of the day, if somebody has a direct database and then is not checked, then it's really critical for us to not clearly complain the GATC. Okay, that's all. Okay. Then inadequate system access same. Yes, sorry.
How will you check this practically? Inappropriate direct data access.
Hmm.
You usually check the user access rights.
No, okay.
That's
So,
pretty easy to do, but this is.
so it's a database also, we do it GATC. In database, normally who is having access to database? Okay, first of all, most of the companies, okay, if there is a direct database access, what say IT, I might need access to do something. Then we need to ensure that, is there anybody, transaction level, anything posted or modified. There is a log we have to check. Database change log that we check now.
That report.
It shows that when it changes is there. Again, there is a critic, so the log, the audit trial comes, there is some issues in that I'll come back to, but normally logs, what we check is that what transaction has happened, who has done that, so it helps us to retrieve that. Normally direct database changes, we say that you should avoid, you should not have access, but IT says that I might need from the IT purpose, but again that guy is having super user access. Then we need to go with the logs, whether what change, anything related to finance, also the guy, okay, any of the user what you use, we get the log of that activities. In that activities we check whether that guy used anything financial related, he might have done with the proper approval. It's not that I am not always saying that if somebody has done some transaction is not inappropriate. If there is a real approval, there is a reason with that, then it's fine for us. But that's where we take a call in the later part.
Usually, whenever we ask this kind of folks, they hear that they don't know.
Correct. Yeah. Most of the small organizations they don't know. Maybe
They don't know.
Yeah, you need to, somewhere you have to tell them how to extract. Even not only small organizations, some of the big
They
organizations.
also don't know they
That's maybe that's why that so some of them maybe no way somewhere you find that in public maybe you can find out. That's why you get that. I think that some steps will be there. Okay, each work we normally in Big Four what happens that there is a defined work plan. It will say which T code, which query you have to run, which you have to, and then we do have something like an automated tool also. It will fetch us the entire exceptions. That's how it works. So for clear, this is a access management. Okay. Now coming to change management, similar approach. Okay. Then like a live production changes. If anybody treated that, that's what we say change management procedure. What that system has data conversion tested. That what you said that testing and all those things. Second is that review, change review. Again, this is the same thing. User access review, periodic review we check, and then coming to SOD. Again, this is like as we said. The segregation duties has to be maintained. Okay, developer should not have access to migrate the changes into production. What happens if the developer having migration? Then he can do whatever he develop and then do, not what you requested. That's it. We should have it. Somebody else has to migrate that after checking that. Okay. So again here, I think same logic what I said. That it will impact inappropriate changes, and then how is the data okay then. Okay, there is one more aspect I try to cover this part. Okay, this is again same. Okay, there is unauthorized access and all those things. That's what it comes. Now coming to data conversion migration activity completed in active. Where the scenario comes? Data migration or conversion. Correct. Correct. So normally, what possibilities happens in this case? What are the scenarios may impact my finds or possibility? What are the scenarios might impact in this case?
During the conversion of data, migration of data, there
Yeah.
may be abrupt system stoppage,
Correct.
or it may corrupt.
Correct. I may say that I sent some data but not completely my financial mode here, and then some of the legacy to SAP the data might not sync. Okay. So ensure that when there is a lot. I think nowadays most of the things what is in SAP to SAP ANA, and then some of them like using the Windows application. When as they grow, they move to either cloud based or some other application. Then I need to ensure that this is a critical activity. The data, how is that migration happen? That's not my organization should have done that. Okay, I am not going to do that. What I have to do, we have set up control to check around. That's one of the critical set of the control. We need to ensure that we check. Okay. Database change are not appropriate. Okay, again the same thing. Changes made to database could affect the same logic. Okay, data center network. This is error in job monitoring. That same we discussed. I think. And then again that backup configuration. I'll cover backup. And then monitoring is part of the same thing. We have to ensure that frequently monitor. Again, inappropriate use, then we are use the same access backup or not performed. Data is not supposed to complete and same. Like whatever so far we discussed, that is the same topic over here. Normally, common pitfalls. What we have seen so far, what we tested, and when we see this, is what we see. What we see is that access approved. That documentation is not. What happens that today I just request you because you know to me, then you give it. Tomorrow auditor comes. Where is the proof? That's where we see normally in any of the testing. The second is that follow up on remote temporary access. What happens that somebody today asks, then I don't remove it will be keep continuing. Even I might not have used, but when we are auditing, this comes as an exception. That's what we need to assess. Then deprovisioning. Okay, this is again normally in most of the cases. I don't know single sign-on. Anybody understand single sign-on?
I am approving select paying.
Sorry, sir.
I am approving some document and then payment or something like that.
No, not single sign-on is not that. Okay, yes, sir.
It's more of all databases or tools capturing the same authorized user without logging in separately every time.
Correct. So no, it's correct only. Now, if I access what happens is that if I access if I access my laptop, the same ID is already configured to my SAP or any of the access. That is what single sign-on. I don't need to have a separate ID for that. Okay. If I exit from the organization, normally what happens that when I am exiting the organization, my ID also get locked. That's where single sign-on comes. Normally, the scenario where we see that exception or it transferred from other department. Okay, that time somebody is not monitored and followed up, then there is a possibility of ID is active, and then that's why there is an issue comes. Okay, there may be existing ID not removed on a timely basis. Then next is that understanding of permission role being reviewed. Okay, access review given roles also. Like somebody was asked me 5 roles, but I am tagged 10 roles and I am just giving that. That's a inappropriate access. That's all the other aspects. Then approving user already disabled. Okay, then not investigating risk associated. Change management, I think I'll say anything documenting emergency changes. Okay, this is one of them. Okay, emergency changes. I say right, I am the only one guy, and then you are the only one person at the month end closure. You say emergency changes, change it, done. But I don't know where is the approval, who has given changes. What normally possible if okay, practically, obviously you are the CFO, you ask me emergency changes, I do. But what is the possibility of rectifying that? As a controller, what I should do in this case? There is a post facto approval always available. Okay, either I just take that after that, then approval and demonstrate that there is a policy has to be there. Emergency changes, I can have a post facto approval, then accordingly we just need to mitigate that. Then missing UAT, that I think testing, if something missing, that's what we see. Missing evidence to in non-production environment. Okay, evidence to test non-production. Okay, they are not tested in a non-production test environment, nothing but. Okay, these are the normally pitfalls what we do. So far I try to cover IT application GATC. Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
For database is a cloud based.
Any can be. So now
Then nobody will have access to that because the interface.
somebody has to manage the database, correct? Either instead of managing, you are managing now.
This is the Microsoft series.
Correct. What we have to get in that, I told you in the beginning. In that case, what we rely as an auditor?
Type 1, type 2.
Sorry?
Type 1, type 2.
Correct. That's how it is. Now most of the period moves to cloud, then I will rely on auditor as don't have any organization, so rely on the.
You don't have access to that.
Correct. Yeah. That's how we get the. Now most of them will give the report that we rely. In that also come up the areas where we need that cycle. Anyway, SOC type 1 that space.
How do we review the type 1, type 2? Because it's a very.
Yeah, I have that one slide for that. I will cover that this time if you have. Okay. So far, this is what the GATC part. Clear so far? Anybody? Any questions? This is what the indirect control. These are the indirect control for my any financial audit. Okay. Now there are like IT dependent controls. Anybody so far in discussion understood IT? I think somewhere I explained what is IT dependent controls. Aging is the IP, what we call it. Report information produced by entity, that's what IP we call the report, aging report. That's what one of them, IT dependent control. Anything else? That comes of automated control. Okay, automated control that we call as a automated control. SOD, maker, checker, we check segregation duties in like whether you approved or not. That I check as a IT. I am not checking like manually that somewhere system is that is configured or not. If something says SOD, segregation duties. Okay. And then one more I check. Say interfaces. I think interface. Where this interface comes.
Any of the supporting applications between the OS and the application?
OS is not an application. OS is a supporting. So application comes only SAP, Oracle, and then even Tally. Any other tools what we use. Something like processing some receivable, payable, some applications. Interface. What scenario interface possible? Correct. Separate billing. And then hospitals. They have a HIS. Normally they say everything will happen in. I book the patient, I collect the payment, everything happen in HIS. Then finally I have financial application as a Tally. Or like now Tally is wrong, but some other financial application. So what they do, somebody cannot do manually, correct? There are like two ways. One is that manual interface, one is system interface. So these are the IT dependent controls. We need to test around this. Okay, I have some detail. I just briefly I try to touch upon these details. I just I have tried.
APIs.
KP. Sorry?
That is called API.
API, that's middleware we call. API is a middleware. Okay. The two, so one is that I just push and pull technology. Okay, it will fetch us. API is that something as a facilitator there. It's a middleware. I just help them to move ahead. That's how there's some of the middleware that normally we call it. Interface is normal scenario only. It's just either I'll ask code writer and pull the data from this, or like it's a push the data kind of thing. That's all. Even manual interface also. I download and upload. That's also interface only. So interface, yeah, same thing. Okay, I just try to this will help. I think maybe I'll try to cover some aspects here. system interface, manual interface. Automatically transfer the data, that is what system, and then manually transfer. Okay, what normally we test as a part of the testing. One is that data being transferred, with what data is transferred, we just ensure that the what data is transferred. Source system, destination system. We need to identify first of all. I cannot know unless I know which is the source and destination. I cannot test. Okay. Then method of transfer. There is like whatever the pull, push, like is it query return? How is that happen? That's what we check. Then frequency. Is it like a continuous or is it like a once in a day? That's how we check. Okay. Okay. Then what can go wrong? Data not transfer accurately completely. That's what is wrong. Then relevant controls. What we see, that's what we said. We check general IT control as a about the application plus whatever the input output testing we do. So far, that's what I just want to cover briefly here. Then any question I'm happy to. Any example also I can give that.
Sir, what is the manual control? I mean, how to test that from one interface to the
Same IP report what it says. No, I just check that what is the data I transfer. I have same thing. I have uploaded 10 documents with the certain set of value, correct? Then I will go to output data and then check that whether the 10 transaction reflecting over there, and then sample basis I test whether the value is coming.
In some cases, I have observed that the reference number also doesn't come properly. No.
Correct. That's why we need to. So then, what reason we need to understand? Is it a system limitation or is it like they are not? Then there is a problem. Correct. The reference number.
They usually tell that it is system limitation.
Then system limitation. Then they have to. But only that count and then I don't know, is that this other option has to be done. Either you have to match the value and then refer back. But I don't know why reason, maybe I don't understand that reference number or something. So maybe that reference number not coming at all. Possible. I have a 10 fields here. The 10 fields may not be coming in, then there is a system limitation. If that, okay, then you are saying me the 10 field 1, 2, 3. When I am going to the next system, it's coming 3, 4, 5. Then logic not coming. They have to fix that. That is not.
It's also possible in some cases. The reference number is big, 10, 15 digits.
Understood. Okay.
But you are getting only
For the common digit. Yeah.
Limitations of the field.
Correct. That limitation, I think, maybe because of that. I think.
maybe that's a limitation.
Yeah. Those system limitation you can't. Then you have to say I can't give you comfort on that. That's how we have to be clear unless you can match other areas. So you can also take a reasonable comfort. Correct. Only reference number is not my end-to-end audit. Correct. So that's why you can rely on that sort of problem. So same thing, I think they say one example you say service system interface to billing system to general ledger. This is what the interfaces normally we say. And then here also we say that I have tested IT application. The pitfalls what normally say is that I say GATC is very good, I don't access everything, but unless I test this interface, I cannot assume that IT is fine, interface is fine. There is a possibility of error. So I need to ensure that interface also I test as an independent control. So clear on the IT and independent control testing. If anything, I am happy to this.
How to check what if in case of small enterprises, either big four or listed clients, small clients.
Smart clients, if you ask me, they don't have multiple applications only. If at all, they have.
Maybe in the Tally environment.
Yeah, okay. Tally GATC testing, okay. Tally, I think non-reliance, normally most of them what we see, non-GATC reliance. I do only substantive testing. Because in Tally, I don't have automated controls configuration. I don't have a report anything normally. Normally what I do is that, because anybody, there is a limitation in the GA, there is no access setup in that, okay.
It's there, sir.
Is latest one might be there.
Maker checker is there. You pass the entries, I approve it, then only it goes and gets the report. There is no less than whatever you speak today, SAP Oracle. Tally is delivery.
Latest one, if it is there, then we do a GATC around that, same thing. Then normal small industry also do. So most of them, okay, what we do is that, normally Tally even also, people are limited there. Normally substantive testing is the more non-integrated audit we do in that case. More like I take a substantive testing.
Even today big fours are coming and doing the audit with the Tally environment.
Correct. Yeah, most of them Tally is there. Even in our case also, we don't do a GATC normally. We take a normal.
But still they have the checklist based. All big four they just come with the checklist.
We take because now audit trial we are checking that because audit trial is mandatory, and then backup we are checking. That's the two other control. I may do limited testing, even though I can do limited testing, maybe limit to access, and then change management some of the limited control, and not do full fledged. So that's how we take that. Again, it's up to you. So your fees, all those things comes matter in this. Okay, that's also. Normally I have seen like till now, I don't know, now the latest tally I am not, but most of the non-reliance, non-control reliance on GITC, but now other control they check, manual control they check, maybe based on the document or whatever, but GITC limited testing they do, not tally, that's what. And then segregation duties, I think I try to cover everything what this is, same thing, like someone has to different, that's what is covered, unless something, anything specific, IT, this is nothing but we are saying manual, somebody has to be there, and in system also somebody, that's what they are covering. I just maybe I'll skip it, really not much. Automated controls, again same thing, like only critical point I think, this is input output, configuration control versus program control, variance, control over configuration, then only that one critical aspect is that variance. Anybody who variance, where this scenario comes, variance? I may, the depreciation is the best example. I know who has given depreciation example of that time. Somebody has told depreciation, you only, na? Automatic control.
Yeah.
What is variant? You can explain the depreciation, we will see variance, correct?
There are class-wise depreciation.
Correct.
Useful life will change.
Change, correct?
Residual value.
So in that case, automated control configuration, how should I check? Should I find one is fine for me, or I should cover other variants?
All the way.
Correct. That's what. Normally what happens that unless you guys tell your team who is testing, normally what they do, they test one variant and then say it's effective, but when the regulator comes, they know that where is the loophole, they'll ask where is the other variants. So that's where the one critical aspect, the rest all is normal GITC configuration only. This is what the system, IP, IUC, system generated report is going reports. Normally what we check, source data, what I said the same thing, parameters, report logic, parameters, anybody, it's a simple concept only, no idea. If I need to generate report, what I key in any of the
fields that I need.
correct, entry company code, range if I need a monthly, from which period to which period, what particular duration, and then what data I need, okay, that's what the parameter I need to ensure that if I put, unless I put a right parameter, it's maybe that output, okay, that's what. And then this report logic, the query what is written, and then controls, that's what is covers, okay, then maybe pitfall, not all data captured, report logic inconsistent, and then parameters maybe incorrectly entered. These are the ones, couple of tests what we see. So this is maybe I just try to explain the logical. What are the critical aspects over? Okay, we need to determine whether the appropriate parameter would apply. That's what unless I apply, that's what parameter we check, range, and then whether the source data, whether that database is accurately and complete. Okay, this is what this data where the data sits, and then report logic. That's what the information used. That what normally report is the user list, transaction list. This is what the report.
In one practical scenario, whenever we generate some report, today it gives some information. After a month, if I generate, it gives some variation to the
Okay.
1%, 2%.
So that's why there is a terminology. What are the types of reports?
See, you take an example of inventory report.
I know, I understood the report. I am just normally in terminal what we call this kind of a report. There is a dynamic report, there is a static report. Static report, okay. Whenever I take, even 1 year back, I check, I will get the same. Dynamic report, if I check today and next day it will not come, okay. So there is a two reports, okay.
Speaking of the
Dynamic report.
static report.
Sorry, static report, okay. It should come whatever yesterday you generated. Static report. Tomorrow also if you put yesterday date should come same.
There is some data loss.
Then that's the issues, na? Then it's not some issue in there. Then it's okay. It's not an issue. It's not a static report. They may tell you static, but it's a dynamic report. They might be okay. In that case, you just do the review comparison. What is the differences coming in there? What are those things?
Maybe now if I generated a sales report for January, now when I do the January report in April month, there will be some difference will be there.
Correct. What those differences? First, okay. You need to.
Some missing of certain sales invoices or some other not capturing.
Which application is this?
Go Google.
Something they might have then deleted that. That's only possible. If it's a static report, then they have some users. They're doing that manipulation. That's it. Nothing else. SAP and all is not possible. They have some, then you have to look IT controls, who has access, what they have done, log to check those other aspects. Okay, this is the backup one. I think maybe I'll just try to cover this. Anybody knows this circular backup? Familiar? Then okay, I'll ask other way question. What is the challenges we are facing in backup?
So daily backup
Okay.
and maintaining the logs.
Okay, logs. Okay, log. Audit trail you're saying or backup only?
Backup.
Backup. Okay. Because of data.
Audit trail software itself.
That will come. Okay. Then only backup. Okay. What is the other challenges we are facing in
The
backup?
size and constraints.
Okay. Other than that, if you assume that are these cloud or global companies, what is the other challenge?
Data centers located in India.
Not in India. So the challenge is not in India. So that's where the lot of scenarios is coming. Okay. So what it says, okay, I just try to cover what rule says. One is that backup storage, like including the place outside India, if any, shall be kept server physically located in India. That is the one of the criteria. Okay, unless you physically located, then it's like a reporting for that, backup in that. I think most of them has to report in that way. Okay. Then coming daily backup. It has to be daily backup. Then books of accounts, other books of paper company which is electronically maintained. Again, books of account goes to the rule of whatever books of account. Then access to backup. Okay, each Indian company subsidiary should have a continuous access to daily backup data. Accessing what type of access?
Complete data access.
No, I understood, but data is I'm accessing. But it should be what purpose?
Able to retrieve and just check all that.
It should be presentable to what I presented. If I am able to generate and present the financial, then it's some people say that I can back up, but retrieval is not coming in a usable format. Then it's a issue for me. I cannot say that because you said India, you can keep a backup which should be continuously accessible on a daily basis, but I cannot retrieve for the purpose of reframing. Then it's a challenge. Only keeping in a daily is not a efficient way to do that. Okay.
Sir, second point here.
Which one?
Servers located outside India.
Correct.
How to that we should reporting audit? Because usually the servers are outside, say Zoho.
No.
Everywhere.
Now everybody is one Mumbai, even Microsoft Azure in Mumbai. Only where the challenge we are coming is that global companies, they have their own in-house IT framework in global, but in India they have one branch. That's a minimum transaction.
Correct.
That guy cannot have a database for that one small. This is where the challenge comes, where you have to report. Otherwise, most of the cloud provider have their data centers backup.
You are telling about captives in India.
Captive also.
Maybe the branches.
No, captive also, and then some of the manufacturing companies also have some kind of this issue. Unless they have a database backup. No, okay. I tell you this. Okay, I'll tell you for this solution. I tell you. Okay, for this one. Yeah, I'll come to you. Yeah, settle.
Is this backup referred as incremental backup or as old data backup or anything?
Incremental also fine. It's cumulative way. Okay. For you, this one, if the scenario where ideas what we suggesting them is that you keep your local one database. Normally scenario comes, global database doesn't have a only saying that I have one India, one Japan, one Germany. They have one database for them. Everything comes in here. Okay. Two options. One is that you identify which is related to financial which for you. You retrieve and keep it here. That's the other option possible. This is the suggestion what we normally recommend. Wherever this what you said that shared services or whatever the small portion of the accounts, then they can have a small database or either they can have something like a tools, the other something enhanced application also available. Small, they can retrieve and anytime you can back up in a readable mode. That's the other alternative ways we suggest.
But does the rule 3 says incremental or complete backup?
It says complete backup only. Incremental is that incremental nothing but incremental means I will have a data which is adding to them. Correct? As long as see that is complete and incremental for me, I should have a data to present what I. That's how you have to maintain
It
it.
means ultimately I need to take a full backup for the particular.
Yeah, incremental means I cannot keep, but incremental means I just adding to the existing one. No, I don't have a loss.
Suppose on today 7th April May, if I have a backup of yesterday, I will add today's 100 entries, it will get taken. When I go for an audit on 31st March, I want to see all the audit trail or the backup trails from 1st April to 31st March. Whether do you have the 365 days back?
I don't think so. We check that way. What we say that you need to demonstrate tomorrow. I need to retry the date.
How can I get to know that whether company has that?
That we test. Yeah, that we test has to be done. I am not retrying them. They have to maintain that. We have to test that whether the full-fledged backup is available. That testing we have to do.
This overwriting of the data,
What overwriting data, sir?
I think there will be a change into the data itself.
Okay.
Three entries would have been made. Then something would have happened yesterday and that overwriting will be.
Log transaction log we can get Yeah, that log will show that what changes is done. The log review has to be done.
So this Amazon data centers are in India.
Yeah, some of them Mumbai, I think they are maintaining all those people. Yeah, major big ones they are maintaining in Mumbai. Mumbai is most of them they are maintaining nowadays. Except that what I said, the other scenario where that I have my own global in-house IP and then I have one small branch share. That's where that that you have to manage. Otherwise, Amazon, all those things they are issuing the report in the soft report. You can find, we can clearly make out that they mention the location of the data center. That's the main thing.
This rule requirement is only for the users, no, not the service providers.
Service
providers like Zoho, and they also need to maintain whatever Indian operations.
Yes.
their own books they have to maintain. So they are not there.
No. We are putting our data in Zoho. So do they need to maintain?
Correct, yeah, including the service provider. That's what Amazon Prime, that's all those things. Service provider also maintain there. So same thing that what is that? Azure, Microsoft, so everybody they are maintaining one data center in India. Joe is India one only. They have to maintain. They are maintaining only anytime. I don't think there is a challenge with Joe. This Coimbatore based. Only that outside people is a global client only that we have to maintain. Zoho is India based only. They will be maintained. Okay, this is one topic to quickly try to cover. So anybody audit trail familiar or anything? Okay, first thing is that they tried somewhere and then again it came first effective applicable. It talks about who, when and what. It clearly has to be recorded. Okay, that's what is the audit trail requirement. Okay, then whose responsibility to demonstrate audit trail? Management. Okay, so auditor has to just ensure that what management give a representation. Okay, that's what it's talk. Okay, that's where why do we need this again? Everybody knows. I don't think so. Anybody IT people is a difficult, or the finance people everybody knows. Fraudulent activities and all those things. Okay, so this is what I just tried to cover. Maybe if you already knows, okay, what management responsibilities, what my auditor responsibilities. Most of the times, what happens that to get my work, I will only do audit in the company. I will say I will test. I'll give you. I think I don't know, so many, even we are facing that controls like my own control room they test, but normally management control we are supposed to test. Correct? This is what the typical practice, but all those things where we are getting caught now? NEFRA is coming behind that, where is your independence? They are not checking anything like, your evidence is there now. Now who's control what, these are the main things, okay, that's where the challenge. So simple, that what books of accounts and then management has to identify relevant application. Management has to management has to identify which is the records they need to maintain. Okay. Then configuration of features is ensure that that is available. That's management responsibilities. Then record exception periodically monitored. That's what again management has to ensure that monitoring, and then accesses and detail record. This 8 years, all those things. I think now 10 years something maybe the change. I think that has to be management, not my auditor responsibilities. Okay. So only I need to do what management representation. That's what I will do. Okay, that's what I just try to cover. That's it. Okay, again these sections I think all of you already would have read. Same here. Okay, what that like some building blocks what we see now that that's where I try to cover some of the aspects of what when log and then archiving backup as per the statutory requirement. These are the ones big challenges. I think this is really most of them now would have been come to some reasonable. So this is how to identify. I just want to simply just put some things. Okay, first I need to see this is my list of the application in any of the organization. That's what I'll get to know. Then I'll learn to you what is this used. Either it's used for accounts, payroll, MDM records, all those things. Then is it financially relevant? Yes. Then books of accounts. Something like this is books of accounts. This is a master data. It might just only say the details of the master. That's all. Okay. Then periodically, okay, the maintain, then maintained, and then whether audit attending enabled or not. Login. That's all. We just try to. This is what the scoping of the high level. That's what I just tried to cover. Okay. There is one more. Sorry.
PC, you said enable present.
Present. This is, I think, again, I'll try to cover some extent here. Anybody saw this again, ISA, SSA, and then I just try this again that, you know, service organization is the one who gives the services and the user is the one I am receiving that. Okay, normally what we cover normally basic information service organization, business process control, the IT and everything, whatever that service critical to that, that's what normally covers SOC report. And then who is the users? One is that either customer, like somebody wants to get the user service provider organization. I want to know how is your infrastructure. That's why they get the report. Business partner means who is the other people wants to do. Regulator and auditor. Normally that's what rely on the reports. That's what it talks. Then I think somebody was asking what is the difference in SOC 1, SOC 2, SOC 3. This is also internal financial reporting. This is something like a security availability and all those things it covers. This is covers on the trusted principles, same thing. Okay. The purpose, this who is the auditor and then some user organization. Here prospective customers and then user organization. Then any interested party. If I want to get that somebody about it, that's what we cover. Okay. Then this covers details of this is again same. Okay, I don't see anything difference. I'll just maybe move to the other important area. I think this is a type 1 and type 2. I think more of them. I'll just one more aspect I want to cover. Okay, this is here only. What is the difference in type 1 type 2? Only one difference, otherwise major is same. Correct. Sorry, type 2? Yeah, as an auditor, what we need? We need only design or operating record. Correct. That's why normally as an auditor we look for the type 2 report. Okay, that's how it's works. And then there is one more critical situation comes like when the global client issues a report. Normally they issue a report for them what is the financial year? Global most of the time. Jan to December. They will because they don't issue for India specific other country, correct? So they normally issue Jan to December. My financial year is April to March. Then 3 months period, who will give the comfort? What I am supposed to do in this case? Sorry. What's the table? Or they will get a bridge letter. They say they will issue a bridge letter. That by the time my audit gets over, but management reliance or something like the critical. If you think that there is a critical activity, then they have to test directly something into it. That's what it talks about.
Companies like ADP, what you listed out.
Sorry, sir.
ADP, you said no.
ADP, yeah, payroll, yeah.
Globally, they have been giving the country-specific reports.
Some people give, but some people because ADP is globally India is majority, na? That's why they would have requested and give it. They not give it. That's what I'm saying. Some people give that even the next 6 months give, but by the time my period will be over. That's it. And then one more aspects in the report. Anybody knows in the review? Anybody seen and then what normally complementary user entity controls? No idea. SOC report when I issue, I will tell that this is the particular set of control I am managing. Okay? Because another set of controls that's your headache, you are managing. Okay? Suppose you are the auditor for him, okay, and then I am the service provider for him. I will issue a SOC report to him. Okay, in that I clearly mentioned that these are 6 control or 6 areas I am covering, rest is covered by him. What you will check in this case?
General ITC.
No. General IT control I cannot check because the majority is my sitting with me, I will be covered. Access management, change management, I covered. Some limited, some controls, yeah, maybe some of the controls what they have to do, that they have to demonstrate to you that they are in that also there are because they are issuing globally. Again, I am just one aspect here. Okay, maybe I know whether I covered or not. Not all the CUCs are applicable. Some of the general also. Okay, you may need to. The management has to identify out of the complementary user controls. Because they would have issued globally, correct? He has to identify that these are the 5. It's applicable for me. This is what I am testing. That you need to rely on that. That's all the complementary critical aspects.
So now we take an example of the marketplace, e-commerce.
Okay.
Where the order has Amazon, so where the art is retrieved over there. On base of the order, I have a unique commerce where which pickup list or sales order accordingly pick list will be generated and invoice will be generated. Now how do I determine what is my books of account? Because some part of the transaction is the
Both are books of accounts for you because that you need to cover entire transaction. But then that other portion you have to rely on the soft report or that you need to direct testing with the record evidence.
But I will not have a backup of it.
Which backup you don't have?
The backup related to the service provider. Those things I will not have access to.
No, that's why I'm saying. Either he has to issue a report for you, whatever relevant to that particular process, I am compliant. You rely on the SOC, that's what the SOC report comes. Or like, if there is a service provider not issuing a SOC report, what you have to do? You select the sample, correct? For the sample, they have to provide you the relevant documents. You have to ask organization to help you to get the relevant documents.
Okay, and speaking of the backup, see we have gone through the audit side.
Backup,
Those things how do we cover?
They have to maintain, they also have to maintain that.
He is telling, for example, what happens, suppose now everything is maintained in SAP. For a payroll, I have outsourced to ADP. In ADP, what happens? So they have all financial data.
Correct.
How should I check those environments?
ADP, that's why they have to issue backup. They cover that report also they issue, they maintain the backup, correct? That's why. They will issue the report. So now that if they are not insisting, they need to tell them this has to be covered. Either you have to tell them, I am unable to conclude on that because I don't have any support. You cannot just assume and conclude any of that. It has to be clearly written that backup is taken over there. Otherwise you can call out, I cannot conclude on this particular topic. You cannot just take an assumption and then do that stuff. Because some of the places we are assuming and then that's really an issue for us. We should not take unless they have to confirm that there is a backup happen and support.
Even in rule 3 also we put in audit report. The first one with respect to the SAP was okay.
Correct, you can backup, you can call out in your, correct, So most of the, in our case also, some of them we are reporting that. That's, why do you take a risk in that case?
So I don't know the backup frequency and all those things are
Correct,
ADP.
because that's what I cannot conclude around that. This is reported for me. Yes, they are what things you said, that's what. Okay. Any Q&A? Anything? Or is it like too much? Or is it something understandable?
Any chance of SOC report being issued by Indian CS?
Indian CS.
Just for
No, we issue soft Indian entity that's
Even ADP is
no, not that way. I don't think so. We only ASAP. Some of them like I need to check who is the other, but we issue soft report. In even India we issue that. Here DHS the audit form issues soft report. Yeah, we issue soft report. No, nothing. I think we issue, we are issuing the soft reports.
Any person who is eligible for IT audits or
Correct,
systems audit.
yeah, system audit there.
There is no restriction.
I don't think so. I haven't heard any restriction on that. Yeah. We have a lot of issues soft reports here also that all these TCS, all those people, they issue, India will issue soft reports. So, okay. Any questions? Otherwise, happy to address.
So now the Tally is coming with so many audit log features and all.
Tally is qualified for audit log.
So that is
We are-
qualified last 2-3 years I think.
Correct. The new with the 18 Tally 8 point something is there. That is qualified for audit.
For prime onwards they have.
Correct. Prime onwards, its audit trail is qualified. It means there is no issue. They are maintaining logs and all.
All this GITC we can implement there.
Correct. Even the audit trail log is we are enabled. They are enabled.
Most of the controls what you highlighted for SAPs or Oracle or the other
Understood.
books. Now even Tally is also coming into that
Correct.
environment
Yeah.
and most of the principles can be applied.
Like over here. So that's why you can rely on that, and then you should have some configuration control also. This is two ways to rely. One is that to do my limited in substantive testing, I just rely on GAT. That's the one aspect. Or I should have a reports and then automated controls, and then these are the things it will facilitate dependent. Then it's I do a GATC and rely on control approach.
Have you worked on this Tally environment?
Tally, recent one I have not, only audit trial we worked on, but most of the other big application. Now, now I am not in a field anymore. Okay, if you ask me, I am not in testing and anything. Now only we need to manage people. That's all. Maybe we have a work plan. So normally what happens that we have defined work plan. anybody comes in, we just ask them to follow that and then do the testing. And people are there, like something like a manager, assistant manager, and then consultant, all they have that core example. Real testing experience actually.
Because now the even big fours are getting trained on the Tally environment because the clients are forced to.
Yeah, everybody's trying.
They can't
yeah.
say I will only work on this. Any fees we throw to big four, they will have to work on any environment.
They will do, I think, nowadays.
That has to be.
Yeah, and then rotation made to take every audit. That's what we do.
No, they can't sit in the comfort zone of only those
No,
SAP
no.
environments.
No, they're not doing. I think because we take all the small small companies and everybody's there. Even I think same, I don't know these and all, but yeah, everybody's there. You know, people who come above. So some of them like board when they say that I need a big four, everybody is coming. Even we have a lot of small companies also. There's nothing like only SAP. Tally we have almost more companies also.
But there is no restriction, right? Suppose if you are from a big four, all the listed clients has to maintain on SAP or ERP. No such restrictions.
No, I don't do this.
Concentrating on the fees, not on the.
No, it's up to organization. Nothing that I don't think so. But with people nowadays using the technology, I don't see anybody meeting. Someone wants to do this Lala business, then they might have. Okay, thanks everyone for participating. I had actually another slide, but ready for maybe just quickly, maybe just to show you this thing. That's some green slide, but I found it.
Thank you, Jagadeesh, for your deliberations today. It was really fantastic interactive sessions that we had today. I, on behalf of the management committee of the Bangalore branch, as well as the members present here, we would like to honor you with a memento. May I call upon the chairman, Manjunath Harusa, to hand over the memento to the speaker. Thank you, Chairman. Members who have an eye on the Bangalore branch website, there are programs being announced. Please take a note of this. Okay. Thank you, one and all. Have a good night.
Thanks.